My guest today is Nina Turner, the president of Our Revolution, a nonpartisan grassroots offshoot of the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign. Our Revolution's mission is to advocate for progressive causes at the state and local level, support grassroots organizing, and cultivate progressive candidates. Before she became president of Our Revolution, Turner served in the Ohio State Senate from 2008 to 2014. She began her career on the Cleveland City Council, and I am so pleased to welcome Nina Turner to this forum. Nina Turner, I am so delighted that you had the time and you could speak with us today. Welcome to my office here in Berkeley.
Thank you, Secretary Reich. I am equally thrilled to join you. This is a high honor.
Well, I don't know whether it's a high honor, a low honor, or it's even an honor at all. But I'm particularly interested in knowing what Our Revolution is up to, what you're up to, and I want to make sure that all our many, hopefully millions of viewers will just have an opportunity to know a little bit more. So how would you explain Our Revolution? What's the goal here?
Well, the goal of Our Revolution is to keep the grassroots engaged and remind them that the power is really theirs. As you know, we were born from the candidacy of Senator Bernie Sanders, who I know you interviewed him last week, and that was a really good interview. But it really is mostly all of what he talked about on that campaign trail, which is the empowerment of everyday people from Ohio to New York to Illinois to Wisconsin to Hawaii, just all over this country, to remind them that the power really is in their hands and that they have to be actively engaged to create the type of democracy that we want to live in. And that's what we do. We do that through pushing progressive candidates, progressive issues, and also building grassroots organizations. So we have to date 470 grassroots organizations all over the country, 7 of which are in other countries. So we have some in France, we have some in Great Britain. So I'm really proud of the work that we are doing so far, and we're continuing to grow.
Well, it sounds fabulous and important. You said you're doing grassroots organizing, actually creating these organizations. You're also supporting candidates, and you're also supporting issues. Now, is this mostly on the state and local level, or are you also going to be doing the federal congressional races as well?
Yeah, all of the above. We want folks to know that they should care just as much about the school board member as they care about a member of Congress or even the presidency. Because so often, Mr. Secretary, and you know that we are in a non-presidential election year. We're not even in a midterm election year in 2017. But we want people to be just as engaged in electing their mayor or their school board member or city council member as they are for 2018 when we do hit the midterm elections, building our way to 2020. So we absolutely support candidates on all levels of government. And I'm not saying school board member to be cute. We do support people who run for school board as well. But the beautiful thing about Our Revolution is that most of our endorsements, the overwhelming majority of our endorsements, come from our local groups. And in that way, we show them that we believe that they have the knowledge, the power to recommend up to national who they think that we should endorse. And I don't know any other group that does something like that.
Yeah, I don't either, and I'm very curious about if we could just pursue that for a minute. That endorsement process, a kind of your local group. Let's say you've got a place and a group that is really doing a lot of grassroots organizing around particular issues that are of concern to that community. Let's say it's healthcare or single-payer healthcare or environmental issues, and you would go to that same group and you'd say, now you've had a chance, you've organized yourself. Who do you think would be best for the school board or for the city council or for your representative, your state representative? Is that the process?
That is absolutely correct. And anybody can form a group. You know, I often say titles are good, but purpose is better. And we are looking for purpose-driven people. So you can join a group or even create a group by having 10 people or more, by or joining that group or donating money, either way. But you can form a group in your own community and then be very actively engaged. So yes, the grassroots will endorse candidates. And what that says is that, and this may seem totally radical, but for the people who are running for office, whether they're running for school board or they're running for governor, they might have to have a conversation with the people who they want to serve. How about that?
That's pretty
And those
radical. That sounds much too radical for our
much
democracy.
too
I think you're really right on the edge there.
Yeah, but they have to, if they want our revolution's endorsement, either that local group or national, they have to go through the local group, and the local group then makes the nomination up to national. And
Now,
then,
and Nina, I didn't mean to break you off, but I do have one question, and that is, how do you get into the local group? Let's say I am not in Berkeley. Let's say I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And
yes.
I'm very concerned about the direction of Oklahoma, and I'm very concerned about my schools, and I'm very concerned about a whole variety of other things. And I decide to get together with my neighbors and friends, and one of them says, well, how about joining our revolution? And I say, well, what's the benefit of joining our revolution? I mean, we're already organizing ourselves. What is our revolution going to give to us that we can't do ourselves?
So what they would do is go to ourrevolution.com. They would fill out a form. We have an MOU, a memorandum of understanding with all of our groups. And what joining our revolution does is give them millions and millions of people across this country to connect with. We provide resources, tech support. Let's say that same group in Tulsa wanted to do a Facebook Live, for example. We would help them to do that. Let's say that they want to organize and collect names and emails and they want to have events. We would help them do that. Let's say they want to advertise their event far and wide in Tulsa or within a 50-mile radius. We would help them do that. So they get the cachet and the people power of our revolution to help them be able to fuel their grassroots efforts.
So you're really linking them up with other groups around the country, and you're also giving them information and advice about how best to do what they want to do, and maybe, did I hear you say, even possibly some financial support, as well as the cachet of being part of our revolution?
It depends. Now, not necessarily on the financial side. Now, we do have 4 states where we have what you call state organizing committees, where they can compete for some grant money. Because we're 1 year, we just turned 1 year. We just celebrated our 1 year birthday, so to speak. We're still working out that type of those types of kinks. But if they have a state organizing committee, in ways we have started to grant money to those organizing committees. And those organizing committees, for example, in Texas, if you can believe that, purple Texas, red Texas, we like to think it's purple, but they have an entire state organizing committee, which then brings together all of those different affiliate organizations under one umbrella to continue to push the work in a powerful way. That state organizing committee can then compete to get some grant from our revolution, but we want our affiliates to be self-sufficient, and we will help them do that. We have created a speakers bureau where they can have people like myself as the president or our board chair or some of our surrogates that help Senator Sanders run such a magnificent campaign come out to their areas or do a webcast with them to gin up more support for what they're doing. So we try to help provide resources for not only our state organizing committees, but also our local grassroots organizations as well. And we provide workshops, training. We talk to them at least twice a month, and we're going to increase that engagement so that they know that we are here for them. We cannot exist, meaning our revolution does not exist without those affiliate organizations. They are the lifeblood of our revolution.
On issues, if we can just talk about issues for a minute, how do you prioritize issues? That is, obviously, single payer is critically important for the future. Obviously, affordable access to college education is critically important. The demilitarization of our police and an ending to racial discrimination, critically, centrally important. All of these things that we want to have happen, also avoiding the depredations of gerrymandering and voter IDs and restoring our democracy. How does our revolution actually determine what is the highest priority, or what are the high priorities?
Well, we took a lot of our founding foundation from Senator Sanders' campaign, but as we have begun to grow, we also survey our groups and we have conversations with them, both formal and informal conversations. But as this country and not just members that are affiliated with our revolution, but the people of this country are pretty clear in terms of the progressive track that they want to go on. And so Medicare for All, as you know, is a foundational point for us, that the senator is pushing his bill in the Senate. We know that Representative John Conyers is pushing a bill in the House, but also Graham Cassidy, as we know, and thank God as of our interview, is not going anywhere right now, which is a beautiful thing. But I mentioned that because 56%, the last poll that I saw, 56% of the people polled preferred the Affordable Care Act over what the Republicans were trying to push, which would have been disastrous for people in this country, throwing about 32 million people off of health care. So from our formal surveys to our anecdotal interaction with our organizations, we find out what is most important to them. Medicare for all, absolutely free college, or what I would like to say an investment in college for our young people in this country so they don't graduate with debt in one hand and a degree in the other. Paid family medical leave is vitally important. The $15 an hour minimum wage, which I know we both know that Target, finally, by 2020, they're going to be paying their employees $15 an hour. That didn't come because we sat around and hoped for this change. It came because you had grassroots folks, like those folks affiliated with our revolution and other groups, who were pushing the establishment to do the right thing. And so you have companies like Target doing things like that. And what that shows is that if the grassroots does not relent, if we don't give in, if we don't give out, if we stay steady, if we stay persistent, we can turn this around. And we're doing that.
So in terms of pushing the establishment, the words you just used, something that I say an awful lot, the establishment is not just the Republican Party, it's also the Democratic Party. And I assume you're nonpartisan in your pushing the establishment.
We are, or omnipartisan, as I like to say. We are looking for conscious-minded people. And so our revolution has endorsed independent people who define themselves as independent. We have endorsed Green Party candidates, and certainly we have endorsed Democrats. And dare I say, if we can find a progressive Republican that is seeking the endorsement of our revolution and goes through our local groups, there's no prohibition from that. We are looking for value-driven, progressive folks who are willing to use the people's power in whatever office that they are running for, but willing to use that power for the benefit and uplift of the people in this country. That is what we're looking for, and that has no party affiliation.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because you have a two-party structure in the United States. The reason we have it, everybody knows, is because of winner-take-all system built into our Constitution and into our states. And as long as we have a two-party system, are we stuck with the Democrats and Republicans? That is, I mean, if the Democrats really stay, now maybe Democrats are going to get wise, I don't know, but if they stay pretty much in the mainstream sort of, or they move to the center, and they don't really take advantage of the fact that so many people are fed up with establishment politics, how do we, what do you do? What does our revolution do about reforming, changing the Democratic Party, making it really a people's party?
I'm so glad you asked that, because a component of our work is to transform the Democratic Party. Now, you and I both know, and I know your viewers know, that there are other people who just have given up on the Democratic Party. They don't believe that the Democratic Party can be transformed. But part of our mission within our revolution is to transform that party. So one way that we do that, and I want to give an example from your state, which is Kimberly Ellis, you may remember, ran to become the party chair. We were able to get her within 64 votes of winning that against an establishment Democrat. Now, that didn't happen overnight. That happened because we and other organizations like National Nurses United and other grassroots groups engaged everyday citizens within California to get them to run for the local precinct seats, to get them to run for central committee seats. And that provided the opportunity for Kimberly Ellis to be viable and to come within striking distance of being the state party chair of the largest state, the largest Democratic Party in our country. I use that as an example for your viewers because it can be done. It's not just about running for Congress. It's not just about running for a seat in the state legislature, or even running for mayor or city council person. But it is also about progressive voices within the structure of the Democratic Party, state by state, running for those precinct captaincies, even running for chair if they see fit, and trying to take the party over from the inside in that way. That is how we truly transform the party. So our elected officials from the outside, but also those elected positions from inside the party, and that we continue to push our progressive agenda. Now, it's not easy because the establishment is not going away quietly. They're not just going to give up their power. To me, I'm feeling a Frederick Douglass moment when he said power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will. But we can absolutely do this. But we got to have the will to do it. We have to know that voting in and of itself is not the only thing that we do. That is at the end of the process, that in a representative democracy, we have to be fully engaged on all levels.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, but what do you say to people who say to me very often, why bother with the Democratic Party? We need a third party. The Democrats just don't get it. They showed that they don't get it in 2016, and they're always going to be the establishment party by definition. What do you say back?
I don't want people to give up. I mean, folks who believe that we can transform this party, let's try to do that. And I do respect the voices of people on the outside because of the actions that the Democratic Party took in 2016. So they're not making this up, and we're not oblivious to that. But part of our mission for this moment is to try to transform that party. But I want those voices out there, whether they believe that the party can be transformed from the inside or they have just totally given up, to continue to fight. We are still fighting for a conscious-minded, progressive agenda. And it does in many ways, Mr. Secretary, just to be totally honest, to have 320 million people, I think we have 320 million people in this country, to put us all just in two political parties doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So in that regard, I do understand what people are saying, but I don't want them to give up. And one of the ways that we can execute our agenda is through the Democratic Party, continuing to push it to the left. And it's being pushed that way. I mean, the fact that Senator Sanders has 16 co-sponsors on that Medicare for All bill, when he introduced that a few years ago, he had 0. That is progress, but that is coming because of the voices of the grassroots making their demands known. It's not happening because those elected officials, most of them didn't just wake up and have an epiphany to say that this is the right thing to do. They are really following the leadership of the grassroots in all great social movements, whether it's civil rights, women's rights, our gay, lesbian, transgender community rights. All of those rights came because everyday people put a little extra on their ordinary and force the people in power to recognize that change must come.
Well, the only silver lining I see on the Trump phenomenon and Donald Trump and the Trump administration is that more people are getting engaged and activist and are determined to change the course of this country than I remember, at least since the Vietnam War. And so if there's ever a time for a progressive movement, it is absolutely now. And I congratulate you, Nina Turner, for what you are doing and what our revolution is doing. I hope, you just keep building and keep doing what you're doing. If we can help in any way, please don't hesitate to ask. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And thank you so much for your voice. It means a whole lot to our movement. So thank you.